joining, but since we have some time in our hands, let us start with some introduction. So, Ajay and Satyendra. Ajay Kumar, would you like to tell us about yourself? That is, from which faculty do you belong, or what are you pursuing? What are you studying right now? Satyendra, you can also give your introduction if you'd like.
Yes, I am belong to Faculty of Social Science, Economics Honors.
Very nice. FMC?
What?
I mean, in which college are you in? Like FMC or affiliated or any other college?
FMC.
Okay, okay, great. So nice. We are neighbors then. So, Ajay, Gaurav, Gaurav, you have
Yes,
been. Yes, Ajay.
my combination is political science, history, economics. I belong to BHU FMC. I am now in second year.
Okay, Ajay, welcome. So, is this your first debate?
Yes, it's my first debate.
So, did you come here with a will to participate or just to be an audience?
Whatever the situation, I will think over then. That I don't know what is the topic, so I will think.
Yeah, okay, Ajay. And I think we have waited a lot. Now, this is the time we start our debates. Gaurav, welcome, very welcome. So, people,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So, good evening, everyone. This is Pratiksha Shukla, your host for the evening, and welcome to the legendary debates. Now, first of all, I should start with an apology because we could not conduct the debates in previous weeks. A lot was going on. All of a sudden, the college began in offline mode. People were shifting, and because of that, the continuity of our debates it was broken. But we are back finally, and but I think we are not back on a very appropriate time. And since all of you, okay, before I start going on, let me introduce you with the teammates, with my friends and the teammates of TLD. So I'm Pratiksha Shukla, your host. Prerna Singh, she is also a part of debating committee. Rashmi Shukla, she manages our technicalities of this debate, that is she handles the timer. Saurabh Ranjan, he records it. Suhani Mishra, welcome dear. She's one of our best friends and the coordinator and leader of our group. Now with that, so yes, what I was saying is that since we all belong to BHU, you must be knowing that after few days, the holidays of Holi is going to begin. So because of that, right now there is this pre-Holi celebration, festive sort of season going on within the walls of BHU, and I can understand if people are busy, they are tired, and they do not have time to join. But as you all know that the show must go on, and with that positive approach, let's start. And because today we have very less participants, I think rather than calling it a debate, let's make it a discussion. And since it is discussion, I hope Rashmi, um, and Suhani and Saurabh, you all people join in. Prerna, please. Welcome, Prakash. So, what do you say? Let me take a quick plebiscite. And okay, the people who are not aware about what is the motion of today's house, the motion is that is the house believes that Russian attack on Ukraine is justified, seeing its history. Like from 1.5 week, we are listening what is happening in Ukraine. Newses are coming in from Ukraine, from Russia, all over the world. We all are aware about the situation that is going on there, the things that are happening there, and I think it is one of the biggest event in history that our generation generation is witnessing, and it is worth a solid discussion. So let me take a quick plebiscite. What do you think, people? Can we make it a productive debate? Are you all in? We all would be very happy to listen to your opinions, point of views, arguments, whatever you'd like to present. You are most welcome. This platform is for you people so that you can share your opinions, improve your communication skills, and utilize it to its 100%. So, what do you say? Satendra, Gaurav, Ajay, Prakash. This question, CV Singh, this question is from for you people. Can we make it a discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Gaurav, Gyan?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, okay, great, great, great. So, let me repeat the motion again. The Russian attack on Ukraine is justified, seeing its history. So, let's start with what exactly is the history of Russia. What exactly do we want to say when we say its history and its justification? Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak about Russia's history, its annexation, or USSR, or whatever you have in your mind regarding the Ukraine crisis that is going on right now? No one?
Okay, so
Yes, Gaurav.
so I think I should start. First of all, a very good evening to you all, and let me clear it. I am also not very much well prepared today because, as you all know, that all the circumstances are going on in the campus and so on. So I will be not very much, factually and correct, and I haven't researched so much for the topic to be precise, but I will just start the discussion uh, with whatever I have heard and I have gathered in these last 2 or 3 weeks. It's going on, the Russia-Ukraine crisis and all of that. So should I start, or anybody want to come up who is well prepared or anything as such? Hello.
Yes, Gaurav, please continue.
Okay, so we all are discussing here that Russia's Russian attack on Ukraine is justified seeing its history. So first of all, we can't justify any act as per the history, because in the same manner, if we are going to justify any kind of cruel act or any kind of war on in the name of history, because the people of this generation, in the 21st century we are living in the second third decade of the 21st century, so to say, are not uh, they are not the part of that history. They are privileged that they have that history. Maybe it's bad, it's bad in terms, or sometimes it's good also, but they and today we can't justify any act of cruelty, any act of war, any act of making people your slaves, and don't do justice with their own people, and by history. And for that, in that case, if we say, then the China's takeover of Tibet should be justified in the same manner, because someday or other, then the concept of if you talk about the Indian concept, then the many theories are there. Most of the people in you sitting in Pakistan and Uzbekistan, they say that Mughals are the uh, they have conquered the whole India, the Ghazwayan philosophy, then Akhanda Bharat philosophy. These kind of philosophies all over the world are there. And the mighty emperors are celebrated all over the world, and the empires that have been extended on in that period, every other country or a nation or a state, they celebrate their the no one says that he is inferior. The supremacy the concept of supremacy is there, so everyone celebrates that. So on that basis, the whole world will would be on a chaos. And so I think that we shouldn't justify it on the history only. So the very first thing that I found, that is the motion of today, that we are justifying the Ukraine's invasion, the invasion of Ukraine on history only. I don't believe in it, and many other reasons should be there. I mean, there should be people of Russian origin for whom they are, doing. There should be human rights violation in and mistreatment of Russian origin, Russian ethnicity people in Ukraine areas of, I'm not recalling the names of that areas, two areas where all these thing chaos are going on. So this can be said, but just justifying it by the history isn't fair at all. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gaurav. And I appreciate it that you put forward your opinion so well. So, basically, when we say about history of USSR or its relevance, the thing is that the disintegration of USSR took place in 1991, right? And it was divided into 15 republics. Ukraine is one of those. And now, recently, when Mr. Putin, when he was giving a speech, he did mention that Ukraine's, as you said, Gaurav, the two parts of Ukraine, that is the Donbass region, actually we call it Luhansk and Donetsk, and pardon my pronunciation because I'm not very versed with pronouncing the Russian syllables. They are quite tough and tricky. But the Donbass, actually we collectively call it Donbass region, which is the eastern part of Ukraine, where people are mostly, or they are pro-Russians. They speak Russian. They have this sort of divide in culture, where the western part of the Russia, it has more. The western part of the Ukraine, it has more of a Western influence that is from European region. The eastern part, especially the southern eastern part of Ukraine, it is pro-Russian, and it was because of this divide, this whole mess was created. And Mr. Putin justified that Mr. Zelensky, that is the right now who is the leader of Ukraine, he is actually a narcissist, and that he is discriminating against the pro-Russian people, and for their protection, he justified this invasion into Ukraine. Now the thing is, there is divided opinions in the society. Some people think that Russia is right in whatever it is doing. It also annexed Crimea in 2014. Uh, Also, because once upon a time this region were part of USSR, some people believe that Russia is trying to revive the old glory that once USSR had. Some people now, okay, now let us a little bit, let's broaden the concept, or let's broaden today's debate, today's motion, to make it more accommodative. There is also a opinion in the society that somewhere or the other it is not only Russia's sentiment that provoked this war, but somewhere or the other it was NATO and European Union that vexed this great giant. These were the organizations, these were the people who poked the sleeping bear first, and they used Ukraine as a tool, and because of that today Ukraine is in this mess. So my next question to you people is it only because of the sentiments? Is it only because of Russia's quick decision? Is it only because of Mr. Putin's decision? Or somewhere or the other, NATO too is responsible for the mess that is happening in Ukraine? What do you think?
Yes, Prerna, I
I
think definitely NATO is responsible for that. If you just see the concern of Russia, what it is, that the around whatever the countries are around Russia, they all are mostly of NATO, in the effect of NATO. And and if you just there is a lot of other ideologies effect in around any country, you would definitely be conscious about it. And I think the effect of that NATO countries is the reason why Putin is so so in attacking mode on Russia, because on or at any cost he doesn't want that Ukraine to be a part of the NATO.
Okay, thank you, Swani. Anyone else would like to answer my question? That if as Sohani said, yes, that NATO is responsible for what is happening in Ukraine. Then how is it responsible, and to what extent the blame is only on NATO and not on Russia?
Okay,
To what
let
extent?
me step in.
Yes, sir.
I will just start from slightly from 1991 when USSR finally collapsed. So in December 1991, we see the Eastwhile bloc, Eastern Bloc, USSR has collapsed, and it led to the emergence of 15 independent states. As you guys have already mentioned, ki Ukraine was one of them. Now, as motion says, let me read out. This house believes that the Russian attack on the Ukraine is justified, seeing its history. Obviously, here I would agree on one point that Ukraine has been under the Russian occupation since a long time. Not Russia, let's call it USSR. But according to a report, 72% of Ukrainian considers Russia a hostile state, and 60% even ready to take up arms against Russia. And more importantly, 67% want to join EU, and whereas 59% want to join NATO. So NATO is obviously responsible, but there are multiple factors at work. Here, Putin since is behaving like a dictator, and his domestic politics has also forced Putin to attack Ukraine. Since you have some point, you have to just kindle the nationalist sentiment. You can't behave like a dictator, so people will eventually revolt. So it was the domestic politics. Since in 2014, just recollect when Russia invaded this Crimea region, then the Putin's popularity just soared. So in the similar way, Putin needed something. Putin needed their government legitimation by its own people. So domestic politics is also at work. And another thing is that since in 1991 when USSR collapsed and Ukraine just became an independent and sovereign state, in that agreement just was followed with the collapse of the USSR. I couldn't recollect the agreement where Russia promised to respect the sovereignty of Ukraine and all other, obviously all other independent nations who just emerges after the disintegration of the USSR. So Ukraine as a country is a sovereign state, national state. So now Putin, I have just read out ki Putin in one of his interview has said historically they were one, but I would rather claim that, but just merely claiming Ukraine on basis of its colonial history is up to what extent we would justify it. And also it is like the just Britain claiming India, or India even in upcoming days can claim Bangladesh, because Bangladesh has been under India. It is a part of integral part of India before independence. So merely just and also just even there is a history. We can consider that Ukraine was a part of USSR and there is sentiment. But here, geographically, Eastern Europe is pro-Russian, and its people are basically Russian origin. And just get back to the history, in 1930s, Mr. Stalin, there was a famine, starvation, which led to the just exodus of a large Ukrainian ethnicity people. And eventually, Russia, what Russia did, they just transferred their people to those eastern region. So eastern region are now majority is their Russian people, but western region is still Ukrainian and they are pro-West. So in 2014, when Russia invaded Crimea, West supported the rebels, and actually there was a government, there was the president. I couldn't recollect Nikita. No, sorry, I couldn't recollect his name. In
Nikita Gorbachev.
2013, sorry, Nikita
Nikita
Khrushchev.
Gorbachev.
Ah, correct. So he was just pro-Russian, and in 2013 he wanted to just EU wanted to sign a deal with Ukraine, which would eventually lead to the greater integration of Ukraine into the European Union. But he refused under the pressure of the Mr. Putin, and eventually the people just went on to the protest, and in the field they just protested, the intensity of protested just rose, and eventually it led to the uh, topple topple of the Ukrainian pro-Russian government, and he just flowed to the Russia. And later, independent election held, where a pro-Western president just was elected. And this, the current president of this Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, he is considered to be the pro-West. And so Russia obviously did not like this pro-West president. Now coming to the repercussion. So what would happen if merely by just, I agree ki historically they were one, but it led to the multiple aspects. There is a migration crisis also. Around 4.5 million people had crossed the borders and just flooding to the neighboring states. Apart from that, whenever a country invades other country, whenever there is a war between two countries, not only the soldiers are killed, but innocent civilians are also killed on a large scale, and it led to a humanitarian crisis. And at last, I would like to conclude that Ukraine has just reduced to a level of merely a pound, which has caught herself in two stools. And here, NATO and Russia is the one. Thank you.
Uh, Thanks a lot, Saurabh, and I think thank you for raising the topic about the consequences of this war, which we will talk about within some time. But as you mentioned about the that one accord which was signed and rightly mentioned by Swapnin, it is Minsk Accord, which was basically an international trilateral agreement signed in Minsk, that is Belarus. Right now, we know that Belarus is supporting Russia, and it is a very I will say accomplice in whatever the war situation is happening there. So it was signed in Minsk, Belarus, and it actually sought to end the war in the Donbas region. And yes, it was signed between Russia, Ukraine, and OSCE, Organizations for Security and Cooperation in Europe. So, but with whatever you said, Saurabh, I have a doubt, and this doubt is open for everybody in the house, that right now, Ukraine is serving as a buffer state between the NATO, that is the Western forces, and Russia. And if Ukraine, as you said, that 62 or 70% of the majority is pro-Western and that they want to join EU, and as we know that once a country joins NATO, then all other nations are committed to protect it when it is in a state of war. So can't we say that this can be a threatening prospect for two very separate cultural divides or two very strong rivalries, and that if the NATO's extent comes or the extension of NATO comes to Ukraine, that it could endanger the profit, it could endanger the benefit of Russia, and because of this, Russia was agitated and it waged a war against Ukraine. And it was kind of obvious. It was kind of obvious after what happened in 2014 in Crimea. But even after that, NATO people, they kept supporting Ukraine. They kept pushing this deal forward and forward. I mean, what will United Nations do if China, supposedly, hypothetically speaking, if China comes to the border of, if it comes to their southern border, if they start placing soldiers in Mexico and under the label that we are only doing training, we are only doing military exercise, and they start placing their soldiers there, won't won't America retaliate? So what is wrong if Russia is doing that?
Can I answer, Pratiksha, if allowed?
Yes, yes, Prerna, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Prerna. So, first of all, as Pratiksha has mentioned, that how can we justify the steps of Russia which was being taken? So, I would like to quote Henry Kissinger, and he's a well-known personality in international relation. He said that in international relation and in geopolitics, nobody is your permanent friend, nobody is your permanent enemy. The only thing which is permanent is your national interest. And this is what Russia is, right now, Russia is pursuing. Basically, because of its security concerns, if NATO, tomorrow or any day, if NATO will extend its, through Ukraine, there are some apprehension with respect to Russia. Apart from this, it's also about warm waters. Since since time immemorial, or I would say since the beginning all the countries, even we have seen different world wars before that, different other kinds of war, why they were happening. For example, I would like to give example of the period of Reformation and Renaissance and the Middle Ages history. What happened there? Basically, for to grab or to secure or dominance over the navigational skills and navigational areas. That is why Russia is doing so, to facilitate its trade and commerce, because economy also matters today. So I think from point of view of a country to pursue its national interest, it is justified. But as Saurav has mentioned, that what are its repercussions? So if we look at the humanitarian crisis which is going on, and in the name of this kind of intervention, what Russia is doing, the way it is doing, like it is using phosphorus and different other kind of retaliatory weapons which are not allowed according to international rules and regulations, that cannot be justified at any cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Prerna. And exactly what
I will say something.
yes, Satindra.
Like, Russia has suddenly attacked on Ukraine. The Western nation has already know in 1907 the Biden says if we extend NATO in eastern Russia, the Russia hostile attack on any country is possible. In current situation, I I belong to EV word not comfortable in English.
सत्येंद्र, नो प्रॉब्लम, यू कैन स्पीक इन हिंदी, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है यार, आप हिंदी में बात कर सकते हो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
ओके ओके, मतलब ये बात कर रहे हैं सिक्योरिटी परफेक्शन, इससे रसिया की सिक्योरिटी है कि नाटो एक्सपेंड करेगी तो फिर ब्लैक सी में उनका रास्ता ब्लॉक हो जाएगा। इतनी बड़ी नेवी है उनकी, उनके ऊपरी भाग में हमेशा बर्फ जमा रहता है तो वहां से निकल नहीं पाते हैं। सबसे बड़ा कारण यह है क्रीमिया को जो अटैक किया गया था 14 में, उसमें सबको पता था कि कुछ दिन बाद यदि यूक्रेन को मतलब नाटो में शामिल किया जाएगा तो रसिया फिर अटैक करेगा। ये सब जानते हुए जिलेंस्की अपने आप को ये ज्यादा भरोसा कर रहे थे द डिक्लाइनिंग सुपर पावर पर, और बाद में यही हुआ कि नहीं आ पाए सुपर पावर। डायरेक्ट बाइडेन कह रहे हैं कि यदि हम आएंगे तो थर्ड वर्ल्ड वॉर स्टार्ट हो जाएगा। लेकिन ये मानते हैं कि जिस समय हम लोग जिस परिप्रेक्ष्य में खड़ा है रसिया के साथ वैसे ही रहना चाहिए, क्योंकि किसी भी नेशन के लिए दो दो ऑप्शन होना चाहिए। यदि एक जगह रास्ता बंद हो जाए दूसरे तरफ से चालू रहना चाहिए हम लोगों के लिए। लेकिन ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, हर जगह हर सेक्शन कहीं भी लगा देते हैं वेस्टर्न कंट्री। जैसे रसिया भी इस समय लगाए हैं, स्विफ्ट से बाहर कर दिए हैं, ये अच्छी बात नहीं है। कल को हम लोगों पर भी लगा सकते हैं चाहे तो, इसीलिए दोनों ऑप्शन रखना चाहिए और अपने यूपीआई को रसिया में एक्सपेंड करना चाहिए। रसिया के साथ ट्रेड बैन नहीं करना चाहिए, हमें जहाँ तक समझ में आ रहा है। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Satinder. Thank you very much. And there are two or three things. I think the most two or three underlined words which I could find in your speech. First of all, you said declining superpower. Underline declining superpower, and I think you mentioned this for America. I guess NATO, America, majorly America. Secondly, you said about sanctions. So yes, we will have to talk about sanctions. That is a very essential part of this discussion. But सबसे पहले मेरा question to you, Satindra, आपने कहा declining superpower. Do you believe that America somewhere or the other is going down?
यस।
और अगर if it is going down, what according to you, which according to you will become the next superpower?
We find India and China the next superpower.
अच्छा, so we are also in the race of becoming superpower, ना? India and China.
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think that India stands any chance against China? आपने इंडिया और चाइना कहा ना, मतलब बराबर बराबरी पे आपने दोनों को रख दिया। तो अगर चाइना, चलिए
Yes.
ठीक है चाइना, तो आपको क्यों लगता है कि इंडिया के पास कोई भी चांस है कि वो चाइना, और अभी खुद रशिया भी एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है ना, अगर अमेरिका नीचे जाता है तो रशिया भी तो है, चाइना है, तो आपको क्यों लग रहा है कि इंडिया के पास थोड़ा भी चांस है टू बिकम द नेक्स्ट सुपर पावर?
Because India has 2030 में इंडिया थर्ड इकोनॉमी बनने वाला है, जैसे प्रिडिक्शन लगाया जा रहा है। ये माना जाता है कि जिसका इकोनॉमी अच्छा रहता है उसका डिफेंस और अच्छा बनता है। इतना डिफेंस पर खर्चा करेंगे क्योंकि जितने देखा जाए कि मतलब जितने भारत से लोग निकले हैं, ज़्यादा यूएसए में काम करते हैं, वहाँ के डिफेंस कंपनियों में ज़्यादा हमारे लोग काम करते हैं। वहाँ के बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियों में जैसे हो गया फेसबुक, यहाँ के हमारे लोग काम करते हैं, तो हमारे यहाँ नॉलेज की कमी नहीं है, नॉलेज है हमारे यहाँ, लेकिन पैसा नहीं है हमारे पास। दिक्कत यहाँ हो जाता है, वहाँ क्या कहते हैं उसको, उतना मशीनरी अच्छी नहीं है। जिस दिन मशीनरी हम लोग अच्छा करेंगे, जिस दिन उस पर मेहनत करना स्टार्ट कर देंगे, उस दिन से हम लोग बन पाएंगे।
चलिए ठीक है, आपकी बात माना, मशीनरी और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और ये सारी चीज़ें आती हैं, बट क्या केवल इकोनॉमी से, ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इकोनॉमी सुपर पावर बनना पॉसिबल है? केवल उसको सुपर पावर कहते हैं क्या? एक सुपर पावर का ये भी तो होता है जो इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जिसके पास सबसे ज़्यादा स्वे हो, जिसके पास सबसे ज़्यादा पावर हो। अपेरेंटली वो यूरोपियन यूनियन और अमेरिका है। जैसे हमने देखा कि स्विफ्ट से उन्होंने किक आउट कर दिया रशिया के बैंक्स को। जैसे हमने देखा कि रिसेंटली बाइडन ट्राई टू कॉल सऊदी अरब के, उन्होंने टू टॉक अबाउट द पेट्रोल या क्रूड प्रॉब्लम, जो ब्रेंट इंडेक्स यानी कि क्रूड की जो प्राइसेस बढ़ रहे हैं उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए जैसे अमेरिका ने कॉल किया। या जैसे अमेरिका सैंक्शंस लगा रहा है इंडिया पर भी, अभी उसने बात किया था कि एडवर्सरी ऑफ अमेरिका का सैंक्शन लगाने का सोच रहे थे। या बाकी जो रशिया के ऊपर सैंक्शन लगा रहा है, जैसे वो जर्मनी को मना कर रहा है कि आप रशिया से तेल मत खरीदिए, XYZ, ऐसे बहुत सारी चीज़ें। तो अपेरेंटली तो कह सकते हैं कि अमेरिका का स्वे इन इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में बहुत ज़्यादा है। उसके बाद चलिए चाइना का भी है, क्योंकि हमने कोविड के सिचुएशन में वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कैसे उनकी माउथ पीस बनी हुई है ये देखा। रशिया भी स्टैंड कर रहा है। तो आपको लग रहा है इन सारे सिचुएशंस के होने
नहीं,
के
बात नहीं है।
बावजूद
नहीं, मौका हम लोग के पास है, क्योंकि रसिया हमारे पास सेंक्शन नहीं लगा सकते, तो उनके मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट कह रहे हैं कि अगर लगाएंगे तो अच्छा पार्टनर हाथ से निकल जाएगा, क्योंकि चाइना को रोकने के लिए हमारे सिवा इंडो पैसिफिक में कोई नहीं है। यदि चाइना ताइवान पर अटैक करता है तो मोदी जी ज्वाइंट स्टेटमेंट में कहे हैं कि मतलब ऐसा होने नहीं देंगे इंडो पैसिफिक में। तो जानते हैं कि इंडिया का महत्व क्या है आज के समय, तो ऐसा नहीं करेंगे। मौका है हम लोग के पास आगे बढ़ने के लिए। अफ्रीका में यूरोप कुछ साथ दे रहा है, तो वो नहीं, अमेरिका हमको नहीं रोक सकता है। मानते हैं कि वीटो पावर देने में थोड़ा मतलब वो कर रहे हैं, वो नहीं देना चाहते हैं, लेकिन उनके कुछ मेंबर रिपब्लिकन पार्टी है जो हम लोग हमेशा सपोर्ट करती है, डेमोक्रेट है जो सपोर्ट नहीं करती है। पहले ही बताया कि दो ऑप्शन होना चाहिए हम लोग के पास, एक डॉलर से व्यापार करने, तो दूसरी करेंसी होनी चाहिए हमारे पास, उससे व्यापार चले।
I just want to add something.
जी यस गौरव, यस।
So, rightly, we all are discussing the, whether Russia is doing good or bad, or anything as such. First of all, we need to understand that from where these discussions are going on. So, apparently, these all discussions are going on from the domestic, domestic discussions of USA only. So, still, USA is a superpower, and it is regaining its, value. And why I'm saying so, because there is two, parties, as rightly mentioned by, I think, Satyen, that Republicans and Democrats. So their ideologies, one party believes that Russia uh, is doing good, and they should support, they should have their own sovereignty of their nation. And uh, and Democrats, they are also like, they are saying, so these all ideologically, this all discussion all over the world is going on from the USA only. And the USA is gaining the emotions of the people from this incident that is happening in Ukraine, that Russia is a bad guy in this world, and they are bad for democracies around the world, and they are gaining it from there only. So it's like a, what I'm trying to convey is that it's all in a nutshell, USA is just gaining the momentum that it was losing somehow from China, in countering China. And
तो जैसे कि आज हम लोग इस पे चर्चा कर रहे हैं, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि यूक्रेन की अगर हम लोग बात करें तो यूक्रेन एक इंडिपेंडेंट स्टेट है। तो अगर वो इंडिपेंडेंट स्टेट है तो इस कदर किसी भी देश के ऊपर हमला करके ज़बरदस्ती उसको अपना बनाने की कोशिश करना ये बिल्कुल गलत है। और अगर हिस्टोरिकल टाइज की हम लोग बात करें तो हिस्टोरिकल टाइज थे पहले, लेकिन वो टूटा ना, यूएसएसआर टूट गया, और वो टूट के जब अलग हो गया तो इसका मतलब अब वो अलग हो गया है। अगर अब यूक्रेन चाहता इतना, अगर यूक्रेन के अंदर अगर वो मेजोरिटी की यहाँ पे जैसे बात हुई, अगर यूक्रेन चाहता कि हाँ मेजोरिटी लोग चाह रहे हैं तो वो जुड़ जाता रशिया से। अगर रशिया इतना अच्छा होता, अगर रशिया की गवर्नेंस इतनी अच्छी होती, पर अगर वो नहीं चाहता तो फिर ये तो फिर एक तरीके से बिल्कुल ही गुंडागर्दी टाइप लग रहा है कि एकदम से अटैक करके इस तरीके से टॉर्चर करना। और दूसरी बात यहाँ पे रही कि अगर यहाँ पे हम बात करें कि रशिया या चाइना क्या ये सुपर पावर बनने की भी बात हुई, तो मुझको ऐसा लग रहा है कि बिल्कुल कॉम्पिटिटर तो हैं, लेकिन यूएसए के कॉम्पिटिटर हैं, लेकिन अभी यूएसए काफ़ी पावरफुल है। क्योंकि अगर हम लोगों ने जैसे अभी यहाँ पे किसी ने बात करी कि अगर हम लोग देखें तो अमेरिका ही है, अमेरिका और ये जो इसके एलाइज है ये कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि कैसे भी यूक्रेन को इसका मेंबर बना दिया जाए, जिससे अगर रशिया के आसपास का भी जो इलाका है, ईस्टर्न इलाका है, उसमें भी जाके वो लोग अपनी मिलिट्री को यूज़ कर सके जब भी वो लोग चाहें। तो अगर देखें तो यहाँ पे भी तो हम लोगों को अमेरिका पावरफुल दिख रहा है। और अगर अगर रशिया को ऐसा लगता है कि भाई उनकी आइडियोलॉजी इतनी महान है, इतनी अच्छी है, वो उनकी गवर्नेंस बहुत ही अच्छी है, तो फिर क्यों नहीं सारे देश मतलब चाहते हैं उनसे जुड़ना, क्यों नहीं कम्युनिस्ट हो जाते हैं, क्यों नहीं वो डेमोक्रेसी को फॉलो करते हैं। तो वही चीज़ है ना कि वो उनसे जुड़ना चाहते हैं। और दूसरी चीज़ ये जो रशिया कर रहा है कि मतलब जैसे जैसे कब्जा करता जा रहा है, तो इसमें एक ये भी चीज़ है कि इस तरीके से मतलब वो खूब लैंड पे टॉर्चर करके लोगों को कब्जा कर सकता है, ऐसा नहीं है, बिल्कुल कर सकता है। बट वही चीज़ है ना कि अगर यूरोपियन यूनियन या फिर ये लोग बीच में आ जाएंगे तो क्या होगा, इसका एक्सपेक्ट करना मुझे लग रहा है थोड़ा मुश्किल, काफ़ी मुश्किल है। तो वही चीज़ है कि मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है ये बिल्कुल गलत है, ये गुंडागर्दी टाइप हो रहा है, ये सही नहीं है। आप अपनी आइडियोलॉजी को इतना अच्छा बनाए ना कि लोग आपसे जुड़ना चाहें, ज़बरदस्ती किसी से तो दोस्ती भी नहीं कर सकते, तो देश बनाना, उसको जोड़ना तो बहुत ही बड़ी चीज़ हो जाएगी। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू कीर्ति। और आई थिंक आफ्टर व्हाट कीर्ति सेड, एक टॉपिक जो इम्पोर्टेंट निकल के आते हैं यहाँ से, एक्सपांशनिज्म, द पॉलिसी, द थ्योरी ऑफ द एक्सपांशनिस्ट पॉलिसी, जो हमने अभी रिसेंटली विटनेस की, नॉट ओनली इन द केस ऑफ रशिया बट ऑल्सो इन द केस ऑफ चाइना। एंड दिस इज ऑल्सो अ डिस्कशन फॉर सम अदर डे कि what are the consequences and is it truly and still is it valid in 21st century where a nation, a stronger nation can hamper, can invade the sovereignty of any other country, any other state, independent republic? क्या आज के टाइम में जहाँ हमारे पास इतने स्ट्रॉन्ग, इतने पावरफुल इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस एटलीस्ट कंसिडर कर सकते हैं हम कि हैं, दिस इज़ व्हाट दे से, अगर हमारे पास अभी इतने पावरफुल लॉज हैं उसके बाद भी कैन एनी स्ट्रॉन्ग गवर्नमेंट, कैन दे रिजॉर्ट टू एक्सपांशनिज्म, और वो किसी और देश की सॉवरनिटी भंग करने का क्या उनको अभी वो राइट है? बट दिस इज, एज आई सेड, अ डिस्कशन फॉर सम अदर डे। कमिंग बैक टू द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट, और आई कैन से अ सब पॉइंट ऑफ दिस डिस्कशन टुडे इज द आफ्टर मैथ, या द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज ऑफ दिस वॉर। ऑल्सो आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क यू पीपल, जो इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने अभी मेजर्स लिए, द रेमेडी ली उन्होंने टू try and stop Russia from invading Ukraine, the several sort of sanctions उस पर लगाए गए इनडायरेक्ट वीक करने के लिए, up to what extent do you think it is right, or was that truly right? जो उनके ऊपर जो sanctions वगैरह लगाया गया, क्या वो सही डिसीजन था? क्योंकि उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज भी कहीं ना कहीं इंडिया को आगे चल के और बाकी सारे डेवलपिंग नेशंस को मेजरली झेलने पड़ेंगे एज कम्पेयर टू डेवलपिंग नेशंस। पहले उन पे गांज गिरेगी जो भी सैंक्शंस रशिया पे लगाए गए, क्योंकि हमें पता है कि रशिया भी वन ऑफ द मेजर एक्सपोर्टर्स है ऑफ ऑयल, ऑफ नेचुरल गैस। चाइना इज सपोर्टिंग रशिया, वो जो उनकी यूनिटी चल रही है उसके चलते कहीं ना कहीं हम पे भी उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस आएंगे। तो आपको क्या लगता है जो इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने स्टेप लिया, द सैंक्शंस दैट दे इम्पोज्ड ऑन रशिया राइट नाउ, उसको किक कर देना स्विफ्ट से, क्या ये सारी चीज़ें वर दे रियली राइट, या फिर इसको किसी और तरीके से भी हैंडल किया जा सकता था?
यस, हैंडल किया जा सकता था। यदि नाटो का ऑन दी पेपर बाइडन साइन करके दे दे तो नहीं हो पाता। पहले ही व्लादिमीर पुतिन से कहे थे कि यदि एक नाटो हैंड राइटिंग पेपर दे देती है तो हम आक्रमण नहीं करना चाहते हैं। बट बाइडन नहीं झुके, इसी के कारण वो किए।
ठीक है सत्येंद्र, अगर हम आपकी सही बात है, आपकी बात सही है, लेकिन आप ये भी तो सोचिए कि यूक्रेन अपने आप में एक सॉवरेन नेशन है, इंडिपेंडेंट नेशन है, एंड इफ द पीपल ऑफ यूक्रेन, इफ अ नेशन on its own will, if they want to be a part of any international organization, should they be prevented from doing that? Does any other nation has that power of preventing another independent nation from being a part of any alliance, from being a part of any other international organization? Was that even right?
लेकिन ये भी सोचा जा सकता है कि यदि नाटो में मिल रहे हैं वो उस सिक्योरिटी परस्पेक्टिव के लिए, तो किसके लिए मिल रहे हैं? अगर नाटो किसके लिए बनाया जा रहा है? रसिया के लिए बनाया जा रहा है ना। बात वहां है, आप सॉवरेन रहे, उससे पहले तो कुछ नहीं कहते कि यदि आप नाटो में नहीं मिलना चाहते हैं तो उससे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है रसिया को। आप किस लिए मिलना चाहते हैं? अब उनको मिलना क्या चाहते हैं, वो मिलाना चाहते हैं उनको। अमेरिका क्यों बनाना चाहते हैं? अगर इतना बड़ा सुपर पावर है तो अकेले लड़ लेते जब जरूरत पड़ती तब। इतनी अलायंस बनाए जा रहे हैं, उतनी बड़ी नेवी है, नेवी को निकालने की जगह कहाँ है उनके पास? ये भी सोचना चाहिए ना।
तो रशिया भी अपना ग्रुप बना लेना, क्यों नहीं बना रहा, और बना ले।
फिर कहाँ से बना पाएगा? दिक्कत एक्सेस होना चाहिए ना, उतनी बड़ी कंट्री का, उतने बड़े सुपर पावर वो भी है, उसको एक्सेस तो कहीं से मिलना चाहिए ना। आप हर जगह चले जा रहे हैं।
वही तो पावर का खेल है ना, कि कौन
नहीं,
कितना
ये पावर
इन्फ्लुएंस
नहीं है,
करेगा।
चापलूसी है। ये पावर नहीं है, चापलूसी है। पावर अकेले लड़ा जाता है। यदि आज ही बांग्लादेश कोई S-400 खरीद ले तो हमको दिक्कत होगा उससे। सिक्योरिटी के लिए वो धर्म धर्म नहीं देखा जाता है क्या? राजतंत्र है क्या, लोकतंत्र ही नहीं देखा जाता सिक्योरिटी परस्पेक्टिव से।
ओके गाइस, बट रिमेंबर व्हाट माय क्वेश्चन वाज, कि जो सैंक्शंस लगाए जा रहे हैं वो किस हद तक अपना काम कर रहे हैं अभी। ओके, आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल। अकॉर्डिंग टू अ रीसेंट रिपोर्ट दैट वाज, or I can say an article which was published in Indian Express, it said that all of the economic sanctions that were imposed, that are being imposed on Russia, देखो, रशिया और अफगानिस्तान में डिफरेंस है, ठीक है? इफ़ यू आर इम्पोजिंग एनी फाइनेंशियल सैंक्शंस ऑन Afghanistan, it will, or Pakistan, it will impact them, because half of the functioning of Pakistan or Afghanistan is going on from the money that is coming from outside. But ये केस रशिया के साथ नहीं है। रशिया is more of a recluse nation, especially when it comes in its fiscal policies or monetary policies. So whatever sanctions that we are trying to impose on Russia, पहली बात, it is going to impact only 2% of its GDP. तो हमने तो
No,
sanctions लगा।
I'm not agree
Yes,
with that point, Pratiksha, that it would only affect the 2% of the GDP. Because if we see that export and import of Russia, if we see that Germany has also put sanctions on Russia, as a lot of, if I could recall that, that pipes, which is, you could say that petroleum pipes, which could go
नॉर्थ
on,
स्ट्रीम 2।
yeah, that from Russia to Germany. So it has totally sanctioned it, and totally banned that all. And if I talk about that the impact of that Russia and the impact of that sanctions on the India, then after these sanctions, that the petroleum prices would definitely rise in India, and due to that, every good in India would be, you could say that every good would definitely, its price would be high. So I could say that the impact of these sanctions definitely impact to Russia, because it has a large of export and import things as here.
Exactly my point, Suhani. It is the exporter. Okay, it is the exporter, and yes, it is going to impact Russia, but it will impact us more as compared to Russia, because recently a news was out that Russia.
But Pratiksha,
Don't
if
forget.
it is an exporter, then it would also get the profit of it also, na?
Yes, Suhani, listen, Suhani. Recently, a news was out that, and don't forget, Suhani, that it has one ally, that is China, and China is a very big economy. Let's not forget that China is standing behind Russia. Somewhere or the other, where we say that NATO poked Russia, China pushed Russia. That is also true. And recently, a news was out that China and Russia, they are planning to build the power of Serbia 2. We know the power of Serbia 1 is a gas pipeline from Serbia to China. Okay, but now the news was out that they are planning to build a power of Serbia 2. So, somewhere or the other, they have allies. They are going to make profit. But if the exports from the, the majorly the gases or the pipelines that are laid, they provide the natural gas to European Unions, to China, to European Union, China, and most of the other nations as well. The crude oil, the prices that are rising, the Brent index, हर दिन देख रहे हैं कि नया के ऊपर नया लेवल हर दिन बनता जा रहा है, हर दिन बनता जा रहा है. What do you think will happen after elections are over in India? Who will be impacted? That is my question. Who is going to be impacted more? We
Yeah, definitely,
or them?
definitely the whole world is going to impact due to this. But what
Yeah, but
what
what about
effort
more?
that Western countries could do? They could only do that if economical sanctions or these kind of sanctions only they can do it. And I think their concern is also right. If they would come to help Ukraine, then definitely there would be third world war is here, because then the whole world, you could say that whole world would be a part of either Russia or NATO countries. So their concern is also right. So all we can do is to that economical sanction, and we are doing it. And if we are not doing it, it would be totally against the humanity, because that Russia has attacked on Ukraine. The world has to take an action.
Yes, Suhani, world has to take an action, but up to what extent and what action is exactly we are talking about? क्या एक्शन लेना है? अगर उनके कोई एक्शन लेने से किसी और देश का नुकसान हो रहा है जो कि इसमें इन्वॉल्व है ही नहीं, तो वो तो गलत है ना अपने आप में. अभी 2 या 3 दिन पहले बाइडन स्पीच वॉज आउट वेर ही सेड दैट डू नॉट ब्लेम मी फॉर द राइजिंग प्राइजेस ऑफ पेट्रोल, डू नॉट ब्लेम मी फॉर द राइजिंग प्राइजेस ऑफ डीजल. बट डोंट यू थिंक ही इज द वन हु शुड बी blamed for for America's own benefit? Right now, America, like a tyrant, is imposing sanctions on any nation they want, any nation they are willing to. ये जो हमने ऑटोनॉमी दे दी है, ये जो हमने पावर ऑफ वीटो उनके हाथ में दे रखा है, क्या ये सही है? एक नेशन के पास इतना पावर है दैट वेन एवर दैट कंट्री वॉन्ट्स कैन एक्सटेंड, कैन पुट सैंक्शन ऑन एनी अदर नेशन विदाउट केयरिंग फॉर द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज. एंड व्हेन द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज फॉल ऑन अमेरिका, वो सैंक्शन हटा भी सकते हैं. क्या ये सही है? And should this be answer to every geopolitical turmoil that will go on in the world in future? Is this the right answer to that, to the problems that will rise in future? Yes. Who's trying to speak?
नहीं, जो दे दिए एक हाथों में उनके पावर, ये गलत बात है. हम ही लोग मतलब दिक्कत होता है. जैसे पेट्रोलियम का भाव बढ़ा तो हमको लोग दिक्कत होगा, फर्टिलाइजर का भाव बढ़ने वाला है, तो उससे दिक्कत नहीं. एक हाथों में देना यही दिक्कत होता है. हर जितने भी इंटरनेशनल संस्था है, सबके रेगुलेट अमेरिका में, सबसे बड़ी संस्था जो है अमेरिका में, वेस्टर्न कंट्री में है, ना चाइना
But
में, ना
it is a
रसिया.
question that do we have given that power, or America has snatched that power?
प्लीज रिपीट.
I'm just saying that if you could see the history, then if you just read the whole hegemony thing of America, then it has snatched that power. Nobody has given that power. America was powerful. That's why it has took the whole world in its influence.
Oh, all right. Now let's move on a little bit from that topic. एक तो right now we talked about growing the rises of the price of petroleum, the growing price of diesel in our country and other parts of the world. What are the other consequences that we can see because of this war? Come on, people, start counting. Count करवाइए और कौन-कौन से problems आएंगे और कौन-कौन सी consequences आएंगी because of this.
फर्टिलाइजर.
हाँ, fertilizer. Okay. How?
बिकॉज रसिया से इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में अपना फर्टिलाइजर नहीं बेचना चाहते हैं.
चलिए
लाइक
सही है सब.
I think it would also increase the prices of the defense stuff of India.
Defense stuff, yes, that can be said because India is a major importer from, like most of our defense products come from Russia. तो हमें अपना थोड़ा सा और बाइफर्केशन की ज़रूरत है, थोड़ा और ब्रांचिंग करने की ज़रूरत है. अग्रीड. और बताइए और क्या क्या कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज आएंगे. चलिए पीपल जल्दी जल्दी काउंट करते हैं.
गेहूं के दाम बढ़,
गेहूं के दाम बढ़ेंगे. राइट. और
रसिया एंड यूक्रेन
जी, एक्सपोर्टर्स ऑफ वीट. राइट राइट. बिगेस्ट एक्सपोर्टर्स, यस, अग्रीड. बाकी यहाँ पे अच्छा, प्रकाश सिंह, यू आर ऑल्सो योर विद अस. शुभ्रा, वेलकम वेलकम. अजय, आप बहुत देर से शांत हैं. सौरभ, प्लीज ज्वाइन. और क्या क्या आपको लगता है कि प्रॉब्लम आएगी? चलिए ठीक है, वर्ल्ड पर्सपेक्टिव से छोड़ देते हैं, इंडिया के पर्सपेक्टिव से बात करते हैं. जो वॉर हुआ है इंडिया पे, उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ने वाला है? फ्यूल. शुभ्रा, यू कैन टर्न ऑन योर माइक एंड स्पीक if it is possible for you. We would love to hear your voice. Anyone else who wants to speak?
I want to add one point.
Yes, Prerna.
Yes, I think there is a positive aspect of these things also, because now we are shifting our focus on, renewable sources of energy, which are non-conventional sources of energy. So, seeing all this thing, I think we have this option, and now we are kind of bound to increase our focus on this sustainable sources of energy. And also there are apprehension over nuclear energy, because the way Russia has captured the nuclear power plants which are being operated in Ukraine. Now today I was just going through one sort of news. They were saying that now the countries, they are quite apprehensive of increasing their nuclear stockpiles. So I think this is also a positive angle if we see all these things from this perspective.
Thank you, Prerna, for bringing in that nuclear angle. And I was waiting here कि कोई तो बोलेगा कोई तो बोलेगा. But finally, that this topic has come up. Russia had threatened that it will use its nuke missiles to destroy if someone tries to stand against them. People, I'm asking you this as a general question. आपको क्या लगता है, क्या रिफ्लेक्ट करता है ये एक थ्रेट कोई भी नेशन? और हमने वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के बाद हमने वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 में वी हैड द वर्ल्ड हैड एक्सपीरियंस, नॉट आवर जनरेशन बट थैंक गॉड नॉट आवर जनरेशन, बट द वर्ल्ड हैड एक्सपीरियंस्ड कि क्या पॉसिबिलिटी है, क्या क्षमता है, क्या डिस्ट्रक्शन पावर है न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी के अंदर. सो व्हाट इज़ योर ओपिनियन? इस कमेंट के ऊपर आपका ओपिनियन क्या है?
I think Pratiksha, that Putin is has been using that word, that nuclear using nuclear energy is just a threatening thing. I don't think his intention is to use that, because everyone knows about the effects of it. Also, the Russian people also know the effects of it, and I think there is a lot of Russian people who are revolting against Putin government. So I think it just to threaten those Western countries. He's not going to use that nuclear power.
Thank you, Sohani. Anyone else would like to speak on this topic? I think it's a very interesting topic, yeah, nuclear energy.
Yes, I would like to say I am agree with Suhani, as she has mentioned. It is only for deterrence, and basically they are, again and again that person is using this point of nuclear weapons and all this thing. It is just to deter their enemies, and that's it.
Okay, Prerna. Ajay, would you like to say something on this topic? Or okay, any other ending comments if you would like to give? कोई पहले सवाल का अगर आपको जवाब देना है, consequences of the war or NATO or anything else, या इंडिया के perspective में the damages that has been incurred on our economy or our political or social situation. कीर्ति, प्रकाश, सत्येंद्र, सौरभ, शुभ्रा, सुहानी.
हाँ, प्रतीक्षा, मैं इसमें एक
जी
पॉइंट और जोड़ना चाहती हूँ कि जैसे कि अभी इम्पैक्ट की बात हो रही थी इंडिया पे क्या होगा, तो इंडिया पे मुझे वही लग रहा है कि एक तो आर्थिक स्थिति और ज़्यादा इंडिया की थोड़ी बिगड़ेगी, क्योंकि हम लोग बहुत सारा इंपोर्ट करते हैं, जैसे मिलिट्री अप्लाइंसेस हो गया, उसके अलावा भी और भी चीज़ें हैं. तो वही चीज़ है कि इंडिया का नुकसान कुल मिला के तो होना ही होना है, बट वही है कि अब इतना पावरफुल पड़ोसी है अगर अपना, तो हम लोग इसके अलावा कुछ कर भी नहीं सकते, क्योंकि हम लोग उसके खिलाफ भी तो सीधे सीधे नहीं बोले. क्यों नहीं बोले? इसीलिए नहीं बोले क्योंकि हम लोगों का और ज़्यादा नुकसान हो जाएगा अगर हम लोग बोल दिए, जबकि हम लोग जान रहे हैं कि वो गलत है सीधे सीधे. तो इससे तो अच्छा यही है कि कम से कम ईयू और ये लोग कम से कम सैंक्शन ही लगाएं उसके ऊपर, कुछ तो मतलब कुछ तो होना ही चाहिए. वरना तो ये ऐसे कोई भी देश किसी पे भी हमला करके कहे अरे ये तो हमारा था, हमारा हिस्सा था, अब ये हमें वापस चाहिए, ये चीज़ तो बिल्कुल ही गलत है. तो बस इतना ही कहना चाहती हूँ मैं.
Yes, Kirti, your anger is
I think
justified.
not only, as I have already mentioned, that it would not only increase only the prices of those goods who are which are imported or exported, but it's all about that every good. It's the thing about every good, because petroleum is used for every businesses. That if the petroleum price would increase, it would increase the prices of every good in the country. And those people who have read the economy, they know this thing better, that the price of petroleum would increase the price of every good in the country.
थैंक यू सुहानी, थैंक यू कीर्ति. एंड कीर्ति, वैसे आपके उस टॉप आपके जो look, your anger is justified, but there is this word diplomacy, right? The fight that is going on between two other people, we cannot simply jump in and we cannot cause our loss because of that. I understand taking a stand is important, but not at our own cost, not at the cost of our own interest, right? So that is also a point we need to consider. Okay, Suhani
I want
mentioned
to
about.
raise a perspective, Pratiksha,
Yes,
that
Suhani.
we are against of that attack of Russia against Ukraine. Okay, that is okay. But if we just see from the perspective of India and Pakistan, then don't you guys think that this attack is justified? Because we Indians still claim that Pakistan is the part of our country. So why not Russia can claim that Ukraine was a part of USSR?
But we are not attacking Pakistan, are we?
Yeah, definitely we are
क्योंकि
not
हमारे पास
attacking,
पावर
but
भी नहीं है ना, ये भी तो बात है. पावर जिसके पास होगी वही तो यूज़ करेगा, जिसके पास है नहीं वो यूज़ क्या
see,
करेगा.
Pratiksha, I am just saying if India would attack on Pakistan, every Indian would see it as a justified act. Then why not the Russian attack to be seen in that perspective?
पहली बात, from where is it coming from, Suhani? Like, why do you think that if we attack Pakistan tomorrow, then everybody will think it is justified? And
No,
Kirti, to answer your question, do you think we are not powerful enough to annex Sri Lanka? We are not powerful enough to annex Nepal or Bangladesh or Pakistan? Seriously? Don't you think we are powerful enough to
अगर
take them on?
अगर हम लोग एनेक्स करते भी हैं तो उसके भी तो कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज होंगे और वो ज़्यादा खतरनाक होंगे, तो फिर ये
नहीं,
भी तो अगर हम लोग आज
कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज होंगे एंड
ग्लोबलाइज्ड
दैट
वर्ल्ड में हम लोग ऐसे थोड़ी अटैक कर देंगे, और रशिया अगर कर रहा है तो उसके पीछे रीज़न है ना, क्योंकि वो उसका पार्ट भी रहा है, उसके पास ज़्यादा पावर है उतना कि उसको लग रहा है कि शायद वो जैसे उसने क्रीमिया को करा वैसे वो यूक्रेन को कर सकता है।
नहीं बराबर. I was simply answering to the point that Suhani, or I can't even remember, Suhani, I think she raised that, or maybe Kirti you raised that if tomorrow India will annex Pakistan, then it will be justified, because we can do that, but we are not doing that. Okay, and we were talking about the consequences, so I would like to speak on what Suhani said. सारी चीज़ों का दाम बढ़ जाएगा. देखिए, इन शॉर्ट टर्म इंडिया इज़ इन अ पोजिशन ऑफ बेनिफिट, क्योंकि जब रशिया का कनेक्शन यूरोपियन मार्केट से टूटेगा, उन पे सैंक्शंस लगेंगे, उनके एक्सपोर्ट्स यूरोप में रुकेंगे, इंडिया को फेवर है. Satindra, you talked about wheat production. Do not forget that Russia and Ukraine both are leading producers of sunflower oil also, oil seeds also, and because right now those products are endangered, those oils that export, उसमें डिस्ट्रप्शन आया है उसके प्रोडक्शन और उसके डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में. बिकॉज ऑफ दैट इंडिया का जो मस्टर्ड ऑयल मार्केट है, वेजिटेबल ऑयल मार्केट है, दैट इज सोरिंग because of the wheat disruption that is caused because of this fight of Ukraine. इंडिया के वीट के प्राइसेस अभी रिसेंटली जितना गवर्नमेंट उनको देती है उससे ज़्यादा पे वो बिक रहे हैं. दैट इज़ फार्मर्स राइट नाउ आर इन प्रॉफिट. ठीक है, लॉन्ग टर्म कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज होंगे, बट राइट नाउ इंडिया इज़ इन अ पोजिशन ऑफ प्रॉफिट. जी हाँ, क्रूड ऑयल की प्रॉब्लम है, क्रूड ऑयल की प्रॉब्लम है, लेकिन ओपेक की कंट्री से इसके ऊपर बातें चल रही है. और ये तो चलिए हम इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर्स पे आ गए, बट जब मैंने आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछा था कि इंडिया और किस मामले में वी आर फेसिंग द डैमेज, how did we forget that recently one Indian student who died in Ukraine because of this mess that is going on, जिसमें उस इंसान की कोई गलती भी नहीं थी. Did we forget about Naveen? Seriously? This is also a loss for India. और ये भी तो एक प्रॉब्लम है, जो उतने सारे more than 20,000 students have returned from Ukraine who were pursuing MBBS degrees there, जो डॉक्टर बनने गए थे वहाँ पे. अभी इंडिया में 85,000 के आसपास MBBS की सीट्स हैं, जिसके ऊपर भी इतना टफ कंपटीशन है. हाउ इज़ इंडिया गोइंग टू अकोमोडेट दोज 20,000 स्टूडेंट्स जिनकी पढ़ाई बीच में रुकी हुई है? एंड दे probably went there on the first point because they did not had that good economic conditions to pay the fees of the private medical colleges in India. That's why they opted to go to Ukraine. वो भी तो एक हमारे ऊपर क्राइसिस ही है. How are we forgetting that? Yes, this war is destructive. This war has brought maybe some positive economic benefits to India, but a lot of loss as well. And if anyone who wants to add something more to whatever I have said, or whatever anyone else have said, anything else before we conclude this debate officially, this platform is open for all of you. आप आगे आइए, अपना पक्ष रखिए. Okay, then I'll take concluding statement from every one of you. Let's start with you, Ajay. Conclude करिए, एक लाइन, दो लाइन, जो भी आपको फील होता है, whatever you think about this war that is going on. Your concluding statement for tonight. Saurabh, your concluding statement for tonight. कीर्ति.
मुझे इसमें ऐसा लगता है कि इस तरीके की अगर वॉर है तो उनको बिल्कुल क्रिटिसाइज़ तो करना ही चाहिए, बट ये चीज़ है ना कि अगर कुछ हो रहा है, अगर कोई क्रिटिसाइज़ कर रहा है, किसी के है पावर, जैसे अगर यूएसए की बात करें तो बिल्कुल सही है और ऐसा होना भी चाहिए, पावर ही एक्वायर करना चाहिए, उसके थ्रू ही कुछ हो सकता है.
Okay, Prerna, your concluding statement.
Yes, I would like to say that it's mainly about the power game, and any country it would have apprehension regarding its, if we look from the security perspective, but the way things are going on, it should not be like that. So I have apprehension over that, how Russia is doing this is not justified.
Thank you, Prerna. Satyendra.
कुछ दिन में पता चल जाएगा कि इंडिया कैसे उसके साथ ट्रीट कर रहा है, क्योंकि चाइना जो है सिविल एविएशन उनके घरेलू उड़ान वाली जो प्लेन है उनके लिए मतलब उनका प्रोडक्ट देने से मना कर दिया है चाइना रसिया को। रसिया कहे है कि इंडिया या तुर्की से मांगना चाहते हैं, यदि इंडिया दे देता है तो हम लोग खुद ही समझ जाएंगे कि हम कैसा हम व्यवहार चाहते हैं, उनको ज्यादा नहीं देते हैं तो फिर मतलब इकोनॉमिक सेंक्शन के डर से उसी से पता चलेगा। लेकिन ये नहीं घबराना चाहिए कि मतलब वहाँ क्या हो रहा है, यूक्रेन में क्या हो रहा है, कितनी लॉसेज आ रही है, क्योंकि अमेरिका है जो सीरिया में हमेशा बॉम्बिंग करे रहते हैं, इजराइल करता है बॉम्बिंग, हुथी रिबल तो होता है बॉम्बिंग, इससे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। अफ्रीका में होता है तो नहीं दिक्कत है। यूक्रेन यूके के पार्लियामेंट मेंबर कह रहे थे कि हमको बहुत दुख हो रहा है कि मतलब वो तो क्या गरीब नेशन है, तो वहाँ होता है यूरोप, वहाँ मिडिल ईस्ट
सत्येंद्र
में और
प्लीज,
वहाँ अफ्रीका में तो बढ़िया
सत्येंद्र
है, लेकिन हमारे यहाँ होता है तो गलत बात है।
सत्येंद्र, हमारा ये जो सेशंस होते हैं हम रिकॉर्ड करते हैं और इसको यूट्यूब पे डालते हैं, एंड राइट नाउ वी आर रनिंग आउट ऑफ टाइम. So thank you, and we will take that as your concluding statement. Thank you very much, and you spoke really well. Saurabh, would you like to conclude before we officially close this debate? Sorry, this discussion. Okay, I think there is a network problem from Saurabh's side. So now with that, and since we are done with everyone sending statement, I officially declare that this debate, this discussion has come to an end, and whatever this David versus Goliath a sort of war that is going on in Ukraine, it definitely brought many repercussions, and not just on India but also on world. And let's hope that the world, Ukrainians in and India and every other developing nations who will face the impediments of this war, let's hope that they recover, and they recover fast, they recover soon, and they heal quickly. And with that, let's conclude our today's debate. Thank you very much. You have been a wonderful guest. Let's meet next week. With that, bye bye, good night.